So now that you know whether you're a pantser or a plotter, pantsers, don't stop listening. Because the tools I'm going to talk about, and the techniques I'm going to talk about, you're going to use mostly when you start to revise. You're not going to really enjoy using them ahead of time. Plotters, you'll use this stuff ahead of time and in revision. I find out a lot of things about my characters, even though I've written out a story and I've done character profiles and I've done tarot readings for them and I know them inside out, things change when the story starts getting on the page. I learned that with the very first book I published, in that I had this character, so I had it all laid out, it was a great story, but I had this character who was supposed to be a walk-on. And he just kept coming into every scene. Like I would write the scene and all of a sudden like I'd go, oh yeah, well he needs to say this and he needs to do that. And I realized that after about 6 scenes, that he was actually a really critical part of the story. And in fact, he was the whole reason for the story. And he was a strong supporting person throughout 4 books. So I hadn't recognized that when I was outlining. But I gave myself the freedom to learn that as I wrote. So again, a little bit of pantsing as you write. Mind you, I went back and replotted the whole story to include him in it. So I wasn't willing to fly with it too long. But really, it's your characters, whether you're writing plot-driven or not, your characters drive your story. They are why people read your book. You need to create compelling characters. Part of getting your first draft on the page is to know your characters inside out. So when we look at characters, you want them to have flaws, and you want them to have strengths. So I'm up here throughout this entire thing. Hopefully I won't stumble and say the 2 words that I don't want to use. I'm using protagonist because hero comes with baggage. A hero is like strong and good and smart, and maybe they should be more humble or something like that. That's their flaw. And a villain is evil and mean and and a bad guy, and maybe they like puppies. But a protagonist is the person who you follow through the story. Is the person who's going to face all the challenges. The person who's going to, at the end, achieve their goal, or realize their goal isn't the right goal. Endings are weird, but this is the person that you're following through the story. An antagonist is the person who's getting in the way. So the antagonist and protagonist have mutually exclusive goals. Yeah, go ahead.
If you're writing as a pantser, how well do you develop your characters when the first come around?
As a pantser, I have a lot of pantser friends. I've had people tell me they don't know who the hero is or the antagonist is halfway through the story. Until they get to the end, they don't know who the protagonist of their story is. So for them, it's at the end they go, oh, so that's the story I've written. Now, this is the character I need to strengthen in this role, and this is the character I need to strengthen in that.
In the second draft?
Yeah. For me, I know. Like, I don't start writing until I know. I have actually half written some things and gone, it's not working. Why? Went back, did my conflict log, which we'll do today, and realized I had the wrong antagonist. I usually have the right protagonist, but I quite often have the wrong antagonist, and I get mixed up when I'm plotting. Often, I have chosen the trouble to be the antagonist, and the trouble is not the antagonist. The trouble is the thing they keep stumbling over. So in one of my books, one of the Madeline series books, she has to rescue this person that she hates. She feels obligated to rescue this person because she feels she put them in jeopardy even though she didn't. The person who she has to rescue is not the antagonist. She is a pain in the ass. But she's not the antagonist. The person who took her was the antagonist. And they push against each other the entire way. Madeline's goal is to free her friend and send her back to the other universe. And the antagonist's goal is to use her blood for a sacrifice to save her people. They have mutually exclusive goals. But for a while, I kept thinking this lead woman was the antagonist because she was a pain in the ass. But she wasn't. She was just the trouble they were working with. Lots of times, people get that mixed up, and it's okay. Just figure it out. Move on. And then everybody has helpers, so you have helpers for the protagonist, helpers for the antagonist. They're called sidekicks, or whatever you want to call them. It's not usually a one-on-one story, it's one-on-many or many-on-many. I've got a lot more written on my slide than I just